I graduated in architecture in 1964. And during that period of schooling, I really got an interest in photography. In 1961, dating my wife in Yosemite, I saw Ansel Adams' work in his gallery there. My first reaction as an architect was, why would you photograph those trees unless the trees were for sale? And I said, well, I'm going to get involved in this. I think I should do some. I love nature. So I started taking pictures. And by 1969, I decided to quit architecture and go in taking pictures full-time, trying to be an artist. Well, Ansel Adams was having a hard time selling pictures. So by 1971, I said, well, if I go to color, I can match the shag carpet like we're standing on here, the gold couches, and the avocado refrigerators. So it became quite successful. We did that until about 1979. We were living on a sailboat in Newport Beach in the harbor, on a mooring, no water, no sewer. You could sit on the head and cook. So we decided to go to Florida. We've heard about Florida, great sailing here. We didn't see anything to photograph here. I'm used to, Yosemite. I'm used to, big giant trees and big mountains and all that stuff. So I was kind of bored. So I started doing my little space stuff. I can remember sitting on the bed and watching Armstrong land on the moon. So passion was, Star Trek and Star Wars. So I started doing these multiple images through my expressions about the universe. Then about 1983, I said, well, I got to get back into my photography. I got to get back starting again because I really enjoyed the landscape. So the beaches in Florida are great. They're really great. So we started. And the next year, it was 1984, we were driving up Highway 27 up in the middle of the state. And there was a place called Fishing Creek, and Tom Gaskin's place there. And he had a little curio shop with the cypress knee clocks and the cypress lamps and the plastic gators and all that stuff. And he noticed I was getting a little bored. Nikki likes that. She enjoys the real Florida, I guess you might call it, or the artificial Florida. So I came back with my camera the next day and started photographing. And for the next 3 years, I was photographing in color. Now, I would go to an art show, and people would say, wow, just get back from Africa? I'd say, what? Oh, you must have been in the Amazon. No, this is Florida. Really? Because people were taking pictures of birds and gators, that was Florida. So I was transcended into really starting to say that I could educate people about this great state because I fell in love with it once I got into the woods and got out of the car. Then in 1986, our son, Ted, was killed by a drunk driver. When something like that happens to you and your family, you don't know quite what to do. So Nikki and I were talking, and well, it actually took a while before we were talking. And I felt that I wanted to start showing people what Florida was all about. And I felt I needed to go back to my black and white because I didn't think the color was really getting you into Florida. So I decided that I was going to get an 8x10 camera and get going on photographing Florida. Now, I didn't care if it was going to sell. I mean, I was doing 20 times the sales of the people in black and white that I was doing with my color. So is that good American business? Follow the losers. So it was quite a decision. And I popped out into the woods, and it really helped me get over this whole thing. You don't get over it, but you see there's a better sense of what's about. And this is one of the first pictures I took. And it really feels like Florida to me. Now, this shot took 3 years to photograph it. I was working with water management. Water management wanted to put their new building with my photographs because we were having this big fight with the federal government, and they wanted to show what they felt that what I was doing was showing what Florida was all about. So I said, wow, I'm going to get an order for 30 framed prints. But they said, we can't pay for them. Oh. So I said, thank you. And about 2 months later, we decided that it needed to be done. We would just bite the bullet and do it. And from then on, we've donated work. We work with the government. We work with environmental groups. Actually, the government's important to work with. They're making the laws. So we need to work with those guys. At the same time, I said, well, you know, it's important to get out there more. More people can see Florida. So we started working with Elam Stolfus, and we did 4 major public documents. And probably a lot of you have probably seen them. They really came out great, but millions of people. I think the Big Cypress, Elam told me, it's like 20 million people have seen it, or more than that. It was really a lot. But then I decided, you know, I want to get a bigger camera because I want more detail. So I get a little bigger one. Now, why I want detail? Well, I make my pictures large so you can't see them. So that doesn't make any sense. Well, it's because you scan. You only see 5 degrees. So when you're out in nature, you're scanning. Well, if I look here, I can think there's something over here, but I can't see it. When your eyes see something, they want to see it in detail. So that's why I wanted to go to the large format. So I could do these large prints. People could feel like they're walking right in there. And that, because a lot of people don't want to get wet. They don't want to play with the gators and the snakes. And actually, one of the most dangerous animals out there are hogs. So what I had to build a whole darkroom to do this because this thing doesn't exist. So I had to create the different tools to do this. And the sinks was one of the major projects because how do you develop a 40-inch by 60-inch print? Trays only come 20 by 24. So I called up the plastic guy, gave him a cutting list. He sent me this little bottle of, looked like water, but it was like glue. You just paint, and it's really, really easy to make these sinks. Then I went to Home Depot, got some parts for a drain. It's a pretty simple drain because there's 12 gallons in there. So how do you empty the tray? Then how do you wash it? Well, our first idea was a swimming pool, but you got to be in there an hour. So then we decided, well, we built a vertical washer. I built it with 1/2-inch plexiglass, filled it up, and it exploded. So we had a marsh darkroom. And then I rebuilt it and supported it with wood and steel, and it's still working today. I think we built that thing in 97 or 98, a long time ago. 96, actually. So then you put the print in, and then you roll it in and roll it out, hang it. That's our official clothesline. Then with these big negatives, how do you enlarge them? Well, a friend had this. This was actually a copy camera. It was in Miami. He calls me up. I said, I got a camera over here. You want to have it? I said, sure. I drove over my little Toyota. I don't think it's going to fit. So I went back with a big old milk truck type thing, big old van, and took a forklift to get it in. So I took the ground glass out of the back and put a light source in. The camera was free. The light source was $6,000. So that was quite anyhow. Now, we wanted to make bigger trays, bigger prints. So this was people probably wondered, am I ready for global warming? So I got these rollers, and that was the magic thing at Home Depot to do these large prints. We would scroll them back and forth, and then this is only a 4 foot by 7 foot. So we lay that out and have it wash. Of course, the bigger prints required bigger rollers, and we had to actually stand here or sit there and wash this thing for an hour back and forth. So you have to have my little rubber ducky to keep us happy. So now I've got a dark room that I can do 8-inch by 10-inch prints to 5 foot by 8 foot. I can basically do most anything I want. Then in 2000, my daughter and son-in-law decided that it was more important what I was doing than just making money. So they came and joined Nikki and I. It's been really a great help. Now I'm able to go out and take pictures anywhere I want, because now I can process them, I can print them, and I can frame them, and hopefully I can sell them. Now I have to realize that little black thing I'm holding, that's the size of the film. But that picture was taken by Nikki with her cell phone. Now, I'm in all these pictures, but Nikki is the heart of our business. I mean, she is my wife. Next year will be our 50th anniversary. And she's put up with a lot of for me, but it's been great. Now, this is one thing I want you to all think about. Now, how many of you think the world's round? Nobody thinks it's round? How many people treat it as it's flat? You know, this is what's around you. You drive down the road, it seems flat. But everything you do comes around and goes around. And some of the talks we've had today, I think, illustrate that whole point. So start thinking about what you can do to keep in sight that it's round. Thank you.